Hey, welcome back. So my microphone stand has disappeared. I don't know where it is. So I'm holding the microphone. This specific video did pop up my feed. I'm like, I have to do the video regardless of a stand or not. So this video is why US-China tensions are reviving an ancient British industry. So then I think to myself, what ancient British industry is reviving? What's coming around? What do they even have for an ancient industry? I'm thinking of like, okay, well, I mean, probably further than the Industrial Revolution, shipbuilding. I don't even know where to go from there. And why this US-China tension is reviving this British specifically. I can't even think of an ancient industry that I would say, hey, let's start gold panning, let's start gold mining and just have it flourish. So I'm very curious of what's going on and kind of just how this all ties in. And hopefully I don't forget to hold the microphone up to my mouth. Sorry in advance.
We're down the South Crofty tin mine. It was mined continuously for 406 years. It was the last working tin mine in Cornwall, and now it's going to restart. We're going to go further down in the mine, but Steve, the mine manager, rather concerningly, he's just left us here to go and find the chief executive.
South Crofty is part of a new wave of mining activity across England's southwestern tip.
Wow.
Tin, copper, tungsten and lithium, along with associated geothermal energy, are now high in demand because they're key to the shift to clean energy.
That is very interesting. To clean energy, those all have components in it. And it is, I don't know about the UK, but I'm assuming the United Kingdom as well, with heavily Europe and a lot of the United States. These green energy industries are expanding. It is fantastic that you have these raw materials there, because I know a lot of countries in the world have issues because they don't have raw materials or an abundance of raw materials. For example, Japan. When I think of Japan, and during World War II, we're kind of struggling. You know, they don't have oil. They heavily import products, create better ones or advance them, and then ship them out. And that's kind of always been the thing with Japan. So it's nice to see that the United Kingdom has a good amount of these raw materials to actually mine and access to supply to the global markets.
For Cornwall, that offers the prospect of jobs and a chance at a secure future. For the UK, it's a test of the government's ability to come up with the money and vision to help revive the industry, and quickly before the country gets left behind.
We're here in Cornwall in the southwesternmost tip of England. We're actually closer to Ireland or to France here than we are to London. This is where the BBC filmed Poldark galloping across the cliff tops. And nothing says more than Cornwall than these buildings in front of us here. This is a former tin mine. It closed in 1914, but thanks to forces across the Atlantic, due to President Joe Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, there are billions of subsidies going into clean energy and the energy transition.
That is true. The current administration here has that exact act. And I know, for example, if you buy a all-electric vehicle, you get subsidies. So for example, we get $7,500 off of a Tesla or probably another EV if you purchase it and go through these government programs. And I can only imagine how much that's accelerating these industries, specifically globally, as well as, you know, probably the UK and Europe and China, hopefully many places of the world, kind of transitioning to that very heavily into EV, sustainable energy and all that stuff.
And that's being felt all around the world. And as a direct result of that, there's a renewed hope that the industry here could be reinvigorated. You just need to look at the ground and pick up some stones and you see the rich mineral deposits.
Cornwall was synonymous with the exploration and extraction of mineral wealth going back to at least Roman times.
Wow.
Mining, predominantly of copper and tin, peaked in the 1800s when Cornwall boasted some of the richest mines in the world, and their closure last century contributed to the region's relative economic decline. So the renewed global demand for Cornwall's resources holds out the promise of recovery. Tin's comeback is thanks in part to a European Union regulation that banned lead in solder, meaning tin became ubiquitous in electronic circuits. But what's really supercharged the industry are US-China tensions and Joe Biden's landmark climate legislation, equipped with some $369 billion of funding for clean energy projects. That and China's dominance is forcing governments the world over to secure the raw materials needed to compete. That's a golden opportunity for Cornwall with its long history of mining. And given the existing mine workings, it's an opportunity that comes with less environmental impact than elsewhere. Our first stop is South Crofty, where Cornish Metals needs to pump out the water before it can restart mining. This is living history. South Crofty opened in 1592, and it was the last Cornish tin mine to close in 1998.
For us in the United States, we've only been around for a couple hundred years, what we know as the United States. It's impressive how far back things will go. The history goes pretty much anywhere else in the world. That's mind-boggling to us in the U.S.
When the mine closed, the tin price was around $4,000 to $5,000 a ton. Yep. Today it's about $25,000 a ton.
Wow.
The International Tin Association is predicting that tin prices will rise to 30,000 or higher over the next 5 to 7 years, based on growing demand related to electrification.
The world is dependent on a handful of nations for tin, notably China, with no...
I just want to stop it here to see who has the tin supplies, because that would be impressive and fantastic if the British could really grab onto this and really charge, kind of, however you want to say it, kind of into the future materials that are needed into this, and kind of get a foothold in the tin industry to really benefit from it. Because it looks like China, I know Peru, I know a lot of countries in South America have kind of EV materials such as lithium and tin, but they have a lot of tin. Wow. Interesting to see Belgium on there as well. Maybe the UK will be up on this top 10 list in a couple of years.
No production at all currently in Europe or North America, so that really adds to the appeal of the high-grade tin in Cornwall. Another factor are the strict environmental standards in the UK that mean mining must be as sustainable as possible.
He's left us here at this demonstration project. You can see the vein that runs right along here, east to west, where they mined tin, just to show that it was viable. Hopefully it's the mine manager coming back.
We are lowering the pipe column with a submersible pump on the bottom into the shaft, down to about 360 metres below surface, and that will allow us to dewater the mine, start pumping the water out of the mine, treat it before discharging into the Red River. And then we plan to be in production, producing tin by the end of 2026. And South Crofty could be the first primary tin producer in Europe.
There's 8 million cubic metres of water in the mine at the moment. It will take around 18 months to pump out the water.
Wow.
The UK published a critical minerals strategy stating the need to develop projects, but the criticism heard across Cornwall is that a strategy in itself is not enough to get a viable industry back up and running. Companies are looking for more government help, especially at a time when other countries seem to be racing ahead. Germany announced a state fund of as much as $1.1 billion to support critical mineral mining, while the EU launched a Critical Raw Materials Act in March. One of the companies calling for more action is Cornish Tin, which in addition to tin has now found reserves of lithium, a metal that's essential to batteries for electric vehicles.
Absolutely. I want to hear your thoughts on that, because I know among Germany, I'm sure the U.S. is doing it in many ways, and I recently heard that Argentina's doing it for, I believe, lithium. I think it was Argentina in a massive way. So that's kind of what I was thinking. I wonder if the UK would benefit if the government would really kind of help them jumpstart this and get it going, get that foothold in the world industries? Or do you think it should be something where the private sector companies should kind of handle on their own, kind of feel it out and grow from there? I'm just curious of what you think would be maybe best in the United Kingdom and their situation. Also, it's getting dark here, so I'm slowly getting darker and darker.
What you're seeing here, these are all drill cores from our drilling program.
Can I touch one?
Yeah, it's quite resilient. Yes. Yeah, this is granite, basically. We discovered here is that this granite, we knew it had relatively high relative to other granites, lithium content.
And so how do you see the outlook for the industry, not just for Cornish tin, but more broadly for Cornwall?
I think what's needed now is a coherent plan by the UK government to actually provide the infrastructure that's necessary to enable this to happen. It's a race that we're in danger of losing unless we act now. You know, I think in line with the government UK's critical minerals strategy that was recently published, the words are there, but we now need to see action.
It's really only...
Yes or no? Do you think that's what she's saying? Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? And I'm just curious as to why, because, you know, it's kind of like it's political or anything, but I'm just kind of curious as to different opinions, because that's how I also learn a lot, and hopefully other people as well.
Only within the past year to 18 months that these companies are seeing a more favourable investment climate. But while the geopolitical winds may be in their favour, these remain difficult journeys and nothing is set until the mine is open. Cornish Lithium is a case in point. Arguably the poster child of southwest England's mining potential, the company reckons it's sitting on the largest lithium deposit in Europe. But it's been under constant funding strain, only now receiving a significant investment of $67 million that allows it to press ahead with its plans. It takes about 2 kilometres of drilling deep into the earth to get to the sweet spot, where lithium is found in the water that permeates the granite. The idea is to use innovative methods to extract the lithium from the brine above ground, so without any traditional mining at all, or the environmental consequences that come with it. The convenient byproduct of all this is hot water.
Obviously, we're looking for lithium in geothermal waters, and what we're interested in is the fact that it's holy. So if you look at an example like this, it's got lots of little holes in it, and that's what allows the fluid flow through. At depth, that water's going to be hot. At 2 kilometres, you're talking 70 to 80 degrees centigrade. So you've got heat that can be applied to industry, housing developments, that sort of thing. In addition to that, we are trying to separate the lithium out of the water, so we'll potentially create quite a lot of water.
And the benefits of water heated at depth are not limited to this company. Just down the road, the UK's first geothermal energy pilot project is due to start generating electricity in 2024. It received £15 million of investment in March of 2023, and the government followed with £22 million more for a geothermal district heating network to be supplied by this plant. And they too plan to extract lithium from the mineral-rich water pumped from below.
And here, just over my shoulder, these are the old workings, what they call tailings. It's waste, effectively, from previous mine workings. They call these the Cornish Alps. And you can see over the whole landscape, it's just a landscape of industrial mining from the past. But here, Cornish Lithium aims to mine their own lithium in far more sustainable, environmentally friendly ways.
The geological promise here is evident, as is, according to the companies, the promise of sustainability. But the projects are yet to take off and make money. What's more, the announcement that Jaguar Land Rover parent Tata Group is building an EV battery plant up the road in Somerset could create huge demand for locally sourced critical minerals, such as those found here. The development of a responsible supply chain of critical minerals is a unique chance for Cornwall, but it's also a make-or-break time for the nation. Can industry and the government capitalise on this moment?
Is it fair, do you think, to say that there's something of a renaissance in the industry underway?
We've got regulations coming in, rules of origin, and that's making a push not only for the product, but from the product produced locally here in the UK. So the combination of those fresh eyes looking at the geology and those macroeconomic forces is a heady mix, and I think it has indeed resulted in a renaissance in mining, and long may it continue for Cornwall.
I thought that was a very interesting video, if you made it to the end. Yeah, mainly just curious I've heard many great things about Cornwall. I've never been there. I think the closest I've ever been, well, they said Ireland. I've been to Ireland, and probably London or Southampton, I guess, would be closer. But I've never been to Cornwall, heard many great things about it. But I feel like any country that kind of flourishes on some industry, and maybe the government helps if it's needed to kind of jumpstart it. Very interesting, very exciting, in my opinion, and I would love to hear your thoughts. I'm rooting for it, and definitely would love to hear from you. So thank you for watching. Thank you for making it to the end, and have a great rest of your day.